Welcome to Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, and relationships create that tapestry of extraordinary experience. And on today's video, we are in season two, episode three of the channel. And I'm bringing a interesting topic to you, as all of them are pretty much interesting. But we want to talk about today about the fatherhood isn't just financial. And this is a very critical piece to this puzzle of single parent homes, and we're not going to too much dig too deep into who calls what in the relationship aspect, but I want to speak on behalf of the men here for just for a moment. A lot of men a lot of times think that fatherhood is about the money aspect, but the reality is that the children remember the presence more than the paychecks. They remember the memories that you set with them. Imagine today's children that we have that are so focused on video games. They're so focused on being inside and playing some kind of virtual reality of something. They forget that there is a place that is outside of the home that would allow the men and the family to be able to come together. And I'm speaking from the male's perspective, looking at the child. Men were never taught to be emotional when it comes to fatherhood, but this creates a massive generational gap in the community because the children are not able to see the fathers being around. Now, statistically, we can look at that at the statistical and the numbers of how many children are without fathers in the home and how many children are with fathers in the home, and look at the minority and the majority of that. But why men were taught wrong through these generations is when you look at the older generation, what they believe is that the dad works and the mom is there parenting the children at home, teaching them cooking, cleaning, and things of that nature. And a lot of women will probably agree that that is more of a 1950s thing based on today's societal standards. But in reality, this has left the men emotionally disconnected because many men feel like that the financial success is equated to a good father. And the reality is that the monetary aspect, the money does make a difference in a family's life. Money is how you get around in the world. Nothing is given to you free. You're going to have to work for things. But the kids don't feel the money that the man is actually bringing to the table, because many other times, if we have heard so many times at the time again, that even when it comes to the child support, the money is not oftentimes spent on the child. It's spent on the lifestyle of the mother. And so how does that change? The kids will definitely feel the father's absence because they're going to be reminded day in and day out of why their father isn't there. And out of the mother and father, they laid down to create the child or the children. But what happens is there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to guess that one of them messed their relationship up. Now, indeed, that is definitely a different topic for a different day. But what the children actually need from a father, it could be a plethora of different things that's out there. And everybody has a different perspective and a different type of thing that the child needs. But let's look at some of the most basic stuff. When you look at the presence of a man being physically there and physically securing the family and mentally available, makes the family feel safe. That is one of the first things. We hadn't even discussed whether the mother and the father are married to one another, which, at the perspective of this channel, I propose that the mother and father do be married before they bring any children into the relationship and stay for the longevity of that to death to do you part. But being able to be present, being able to see the guidance, and that guidance comes from the father being able to teach the children discipline, teach them core values that they bring in, that they family could pass on to the generation, into the children and their direction that they should go in life. That is the best absolute direction, not being clouded by all this other nonsense that is out here that is steering children different ways. But even the identity, a father is going to help craft and shape the self-worth of the identity of the children, especially if it is a young boy. And as I mentioned earlier, protection is a big aspect of it, because men are, a lot of times when people are referring to men, they're looking at the protective aspect. How's the family being protected to be sure that their emotional safety is at bay? Then you can look at the love aspect with the verbal encouragement, the verbal cues, and the patience and the affirmations, because kids don't remember what you bought them. At least they probably do during the holiday time, but they remember who you were and were you there. And that wound, that fatherly wound that's there, is when the absence shows up in adulthood, what happens is that child, as they grow older, begin to resent their father. You see the anger, you see the fear of failure, you see the dating patterns that the young boy is not able to figure out which way to go. And it's almost like they have a low self worth. And a father's wound may not show up when that child is young, but it definitely shows up when they are a little bit older in life. But even the pressure that modern fatherhood that men carry is men feel ashamed and admit that there is a form of stress that is out there. And society expects men to be strong, they expect them to make a lot of money and be emotionally available, but being able to provide that balance and that presence, a lot of times could create guilt later on in life. And men carry that with them, because men can't win if they are judged only by their income. And we all know about this too strongly here. Now, let's look at a different aspect, the new standard in the way that we are right now is some of the solutions, because if you're going to discuss a problem, you're going to always have to discuss the solution, and there's a couple of things that we can do to basically clear this up. Let's talk about the consistency. And I'll speak on the aspect that if that man is there, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. But being consistent and creating those moments with your kids where you're able to talk to them, is that your presence matters more than the monetary aspect, because that communication builds the identity within them that often leads to structure that our young men today need 100% structure and a strong base for the societal pressure that they are dealing with right now. And what happens is that societal pressure is being pressured and pressing down on the young men out there, and they are breaking. They are breaking because they don't have a strong backbone to stand up for what is actually right. Routine, discipline, and values like what the military will be able to provide to a young man. But you can heal your own wounds so you don't pass them down to somebody else, because men need somebody to talk to as well. But your children will copy your actions a lot of times, not your salary, because you can't control see that, right? But as we look at all these different aspects of this, fatherhood is definitely a legacy. How convenient is it for the great great grandfather, the great grandfather, the grandfather, the father, and the son to be able to create that lasting point? And it's not bought, that is actually built. And the man who learns to father with his heart and not just his wallet changes generations. So take a look at that and everything. Take a look at that. Just make sure that you understand it, you see it, and just know that fatherhood is not just financial, but here's the thing, it changes generations. So, like, listen, subscribe to the channel. Definitely look forward to hearing from you all. Want you to comment on the video because more of these to come. Much more positive things on the channel. Like, listen, and subscribe. Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, and relationships create that taper ship extraordinary experience. Y'all have a good one.